This is going to be a great day. In what ways, you ask? Well, let me count the ways. Baseball, beer, ice cream, and Hooters. If that doesn't make you stick around for the next hour, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. The DLLS Rangers podcast starts now. Sometimes these long road trips are nothing but good for a team, and we'll hope that's the case for the Rangers. It's their first three-city trip of the season, and it starts tonight in Tampa. They were there yesterday, too, but first game of the road trip is tonight in Tampa. Hi there. Welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan, Jeff Wilson, the extremely busy Prophet over there, but we got things rolling here as he's gotten everything done in record time, and it's a very, very big day around here. And I don't know if you guys noticed it, but walking across the street from the parking garage today, I saw a sign that just made me smile, and it put a spring in my step. Our next-door neighbor has a sign that says, "Now hiring."
Oh.
Our next-door neighbor is Hooters. So I'm just saying this is a big – they're hiring.
Fellas need not apply.
No. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to do that. But I will say this. They probably wouldn't get the job. And secondly, I guess they had a fire before we moved in here.
Yeah, it's been about a year.
And here they go. They're almost open again. So at this stage, to be honest – I'd be more excited about the beer and the wings than the Hooters. But that's, but if they come with the dinner, what the heck?
Yeah, and apparently this is like one of the best Hooters, most successful Hooters around.
Oh, is that right?
And, with Hooters and having some financial difficulties for them to go ahead and finish the renovations and open this bad boy up, they're going to get a lot of business from us. I know that.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt, especially on those nights like Thursday when we will be, here late with you. It won't be open yet because they haven't hired anybody yet, but we'll be ready. And, we talk about beer later because we've got that as an advertiser, and we talk about desserts later because we've got that as an advertiser too. But in the meantime, we talk baseball. And one of the things I said, Jeff, in writing the descriptions of the show, the Rangers are on the road to recovery. And let's just – you see what I did there?
I did.
Yeah. Let's just hope that's true, right? It appeared to be true at the end of the homestand. Let's hope, again, from an offensive perspective, this team is recovering.
Yeah, and part of the recovery needs to be playing better on the road. They're 9-18, and if you are any good at math, that's a .333 winning percentage, and that's not good.
No. So
they have 9 games to get it straightened out. They're playing the Rays, who – are kind of like the Rays. They're just kind of middling around. Not a bad team, not a great team. And then you have a trip to Washington, who the Nationals have good young talent, but they're not quite there yet.
It's a bad team.
And then they go on to the Twins, who played really well in May. So this is a chance. This is the Rangers are going to Evan Carter back. Kamar Rocker is going to pitch tomorrow instead of Nathan Eovaldi. You expect that Chris Martin's going to be back here pretty soon after he threw live batting practice Sunday morning at the ballpark. So things are trending upwards. Again, 19 runs in their last 2 wins. Some perhaps realization that, hey, it's okay to hit a sacrifice fly. It's okay to put down a bunt. It's okay to put the ball in play because sometimes the other team is going to screw it up. So they're just I just think that the Sunday win. And I said I was going to write this yesterday, and I'm working on it. Is a
get off my back
embodiment of what the Rangers can do and need to do and I think that's what Brett Boone wants the team to do. So anyway, we'll see what happens. It's supposed to be a little bit wet in Tampa. Hopefully the rain clears out before game time. Tomorrow might be dodging some rain bullets. Remember, this game will be played at a minor league field, Legends Field, or George Steinbrenner Field and Legends Stadium. I don't know what the hell they're calling it, but not the Trop, where, as bad as the Trop was in some people's minds, at least you knew you were playing every day.
Yeah.
Because of the roof, which now no longer exists. So
no.
Anyway, we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to watching the game tonight.
Yeah, so it'll be the 53rd stadium in which the Texas Rangers organization has ever played.
Okay.
They've added 2, obviously, this year. The one, Sutter Park, or whatever we call it. Sutter? No, it's not Stutter. I think it's Sutter.
Sutter?
I don't think
Sutler.
Yeah, I don't think they're celebrating stuttering.
No.
But maybe they are. I don't know. Or maybe they're curing it. In any event, you got that one, the one in Sacramento, and you got this one in Tampa proper, as opposed to Tampa St. Pete area, which of course the Trop's in St. Pete. So they only went to 3 brand new stadiums in the last 10 years, right? In the previous 10, there were only 3 new stadiums visited by this organization. This year, there's already been 2. Of course, there was a lot of that going on in the 90s and so forth when there were all those new stadiums being built. But now everybody's pretty happy with their stadium. And I guess one of the 3 in the previous 10 would have been Globe Life Field.
Yeah, it would have been there in 2020, opening day, which that year was in late June, as I recall. Maybe it was July. Shit,
I think it was July. I think it got into July.
July 20th. Any event. Yeah, and I don't know the next time there's going to be a new one.
No.
I guess Las Vegas is the one on the docket, but if the Rays end up having to move,
that'll be another new one.
That'll be another new one. So we'll stand by, but this will be professional baseball in a minor league stadium.
It will, and it is what it is in that regard. The good news for the Rangers is that the starting rotation is so spectacular. That 2.80 ERA is not only a franchise record for the lowest ERA by the rotation at this point in the season, which is to say 60 games in. It's also number 1 in Major League Baseball this year. The previous low for the Rangers prior to this season, you might remember 2023, pretty good year. Believe it or not, that rotation, Jeff, with only a partial use of Jacob deGrom and all that other stuff in 23, that rotation had a 3.19 ERA after 60 games. But as we remember, they had a 40-20 record.
Right.
They were hitting the ball that year. 2 years in a row now, it's 29-31. And so obviously the goal becomes, starting with this road trip, to make sure the rest of this season does not go like the rest of last season did.
Agreed. And, the 23 club, Evaldi was very good. Dane Dunning was the pleasant surprise. I thought John Gray was making a case to be an all-star. It kind of fell apart a little bit for him in June, but it was a very serviceable rotation, and this is remarkable.
Yeah,
and it's taking a little hit here with DeGrom, or I'm sorry, with Evaldi going to the injured list. Rocker, though, in his 2 rehab starts, only 7 innings, but I think he only allowed 2 hits, and so he feels good. Feels like, as he was telling us on Sunday, that his deliveries and his arm and his delivery and mechanics, they're all synced up. Something that he'd been fighting really since he got to spring training, and so we'll see how that goes tomorrow. He obviously pitches very, very well in minor league ballparks, so we'll see what happens. But that'll be an interesting one. Leiter, Malley tonight, Rocker, Leiter, and we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, we'll look forward to it. And the Rangers rotation has allowed 2 runs or less in 6 straight games. That is the record, or second best in their franchise history. But more importantly, the rotation has allowed 3 or less in 22 straight games.
That's
Jeff.
unbelievable.
22 straight. is a franchise record, and it's just unbelievable that they have done that. And it's also unbelievable that in spite of that, they figured out a way to be 2 games under 500. Now, that said, if it weren't for that rotation, good God, they'd be flirting with the White Sox right now, Joe.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be Rockies bad, but they might be down there with the White Sox and the A's. And you hope that what you saw over the weekend was the start of the offensive turnaround. If you break the season down into thirds, and I know 60 plus 60 plus 60 is more than 162, but you get the point. You're going to have 60 good, 60 bad, and 60 where you try to survive. Well,
right.
The Rangers are hoping that the 60 they just completed were their bad 60. So we'll see how it plays out. I still like the team, especially if they start to hit. If they start to hit, they're a contender because it's wide open in the American League.
Yeah, it really is. And so, there's a lot to be excited about with regard to this road trip, especially when you consider the fact that the Rangers swept the Rays earlier this season, and the Rangers have a franchise-long 7-game winning streak against this Tampa team dating back to last year, Jeff. So when you look at those numbers, you feel fairly good just about, again, matchups. Now, you could also say 7 in a row. Crap, the Rays are due, right? But I feel like based on matchups earlier this season, especially when the Rangers swept the Rays at home, makes you feel kind of good about the way things match up tonight.
It does. Drew Rasmussen's a really good underrated pitcher. He's going to start for the Rays tonight. And they have Shane Baz, who feels like has been a young prospect forever. Yeah. He had the injury. He's going to go tomorrow. And then the Wednesday game, Ryan Pepiot, I think is how you say it. Some guy you really don't know a lot about, and he's got a 3.21 ERA. So I'd expect some low-scoring games here. Yeah, and John Daniels, I talked to him a few weeks ago about the ballpark.
The Rays too.
And he was one of the, as his role as special assistant, helping the transition to the Steinbrenner Field, and he gave some pretty good insight about park factors. It really depends. If the wind is blowing in from left field, it's going to be a low-scoring game. If it's blowing out, pitchers duck and cover. But with the Rays again, the young third baseman, Junior Camarero, I think is something like that. He is a nice player.
Well, and you know what? He tied for American League Player of the Week this past week. He had like 13 RBI in 7 games.
Yeah, and Nate Lowe's brother, Josh Lowe, is good against right-handers. Brandon Lau, which is spelled like
the
Lowe.
Same. Yeah.
It was a good player earlier in the month, and he's kind of a veteran guy, but you just don't see a ton of names that stick out. They sent the speedster down, Chandler.
Simpson? Chandler.
Yeah. So anyway, he's down, but they don't have a ton of big names in the lineup, but they still managed to be competitive.
It was pretty interesting that they sent the kid down. I think he was hitting like 285 or something, stealing all kinds of bases, making stuff happen on the bases. That said, they're known as an organization that does a good job developing players, and the best thing for a young guy like him really is to go to the minor leagues and get better and get more seasoned and get more at bats. So
to not stop playing, to keep playing.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Don't be on the bench. Don't be, a guy who is wondering when your next opportunity might come. So anyway, it's a pretty good matchup tonight. We want to talk more about the starting pitching and some of the amazing things that they have done already this season. That is coming up. Also, we will get to our cleanup segment, which has just chock full of fun stuff tonight. But that's all coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast. But first, the ice cream. Thanks to our brand new sponsor, Wendy's, and their brand new item, the Frosty Fusion. Now, the Frosty Fusion is something that is basically a swirl, right? You can put caramel into your chocolate or vanilla. You can put brownie bites. You can put strawberry in there. What I've chosen, though, is the Frosty Fusion that is thoroughly blended through. And I've got the caramel crunch in my Frosty Fusion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm home. That is fantastic. What do you have in yours, Jeff?
It's chocolate ice cream with some chocolate sauce and Oreos, which I contend Oreos are the number one mixing item when it comes to ice cream, any kind. And I don't think this is the Oreo brownie Frosty. It's pretty good. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's pretty good.
So Frosty Fusion, you've got to get one wherever they are sold. It is a limited time, and it is at participating Wendy's, and it may vary, as well as the hours may vary by location. But it does beg the question, does ice cream, Jeff, go with beer?
Well, we're about to find out.
I was about to say, we got the best boss in town. Here's the skipper helping us find out, because there's our Bud Light. Now, I love beer and cookies, Jeff. Let's see how it goes with ice cream. Come on, Bud Light. Such drinkability. It's smooth. I always love the barley and the hops that they use over there at Anheuser-Busch. And it's just such a great summertime drink, Bud Light. We're thrilled to have these two as two of our many sponsors. But I'll tell you what, as long as there's a freezer full of the Frosties up there and a fridge full of the Bud Light, this may become a staple on the show, Jeff.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
just drink responsibly.
Yeah, we do. 21 and older, please drink responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri. All right, so we're going to keep nibbling as the other one talks, right? So we'll be hoping each other goes on long and drinking, hoping each other goes on long diatribes here, which we will. But I want to get into this starting rotation just a little bit more because the other thing that I didn't mention, I thought I read it wrong. I was reading the post-game notes that they send out after the game on Sunday. And I was just glancing through there, and they said that the Rangers starting rotation has allowed 3 runs or less. We mentioned the 22 in a row. They've allowed 3 runs or less, Jeff, in 54 of the 60 games. I thought there's no way. There's no 54 out of 60. Yeah. That means there's only 6. Now, we know the Rangers have lost 31 games. So I'm like, come on, that can't be. Look at this. Nathan Eovaldi, 12 out of 12. Tyler Mahle, 12 out of 12. Patrick Corbin, 10 out of 10. Jacob deGrom, 11 out of 20. What the hell's wrong with you? 11 out of 12, I should say. Jack Leiter, young guy, and still has done it 7 out of 9. And it felt like Kumar Rocker wasn't that great in his first little run through and his ERA would indicate he wasn't. And yet, look at there, 3 out of 5.
Yeah, those numbers are staggering. They really are. And I think the biggest surprise is Patrick Corbin.
I agree.
I mean, this guy had a 6, 5, 7 probably at times, a massive ERA at various points over the past 5 seasons. And my God, he's been terrific. Now they've seemed to have found the magical formula. You know, they don't let him go through the lineup a third time, and that's fine. Yeah. But the point is, he's keeping them in the games. And you know, when he leaves and he's given up 2 runs, let's say in 4 2/3 or 5 1/3, that's fantastic.
It is.
I mean, and he truly is their number 5 starter. I mean, This isn't Patrick Corbin that helped the Nationals win the World Series in 2019 and then signed the lucrative extension. This is a guy who seems like he got a second chance. You know, he was out there in free agency for so long. Honestly, I don't know that anybody was about to sign him. And then Gray and Bradford got hurt. Rangers scouts saw something last year in his second half where he was using a different pitch mix. Thought it would work, and by God, they're right. And then the change in scenery, getting away from all those losses to a team rich in talent, and voila, you've got a brand new man. So hats off to him. Now his next start is going to be against the Nationals.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So that'll be.
I like that. That's nice subplot. Juicy.
Yeah, it could be a sports hate type of thing. That's a term Mike Napoli first used it. In fact, I think he might be the only person I've ever heard use it. But it was 2010. He'd been acquired by the Rangers after he had been traded to the Blue Jays, and spring training, we're talking to him. Hey, you're facing the Angels. Does that have any?
Yeah, and he'd been 8 or 10 years he'd only been with the Angels until the brief trade to the Blue Jays. Yeah.
And then he said, "Oh yeah, there's going to be some good sports hate going." And it was a real thing with him. He owned the Angels. He did. And I believe in it. You see it. You see guys who have big games against their former team. So Nathaniel Lowe, if you're not careful, Rangers might have a big weekend on you. But there could be some sports hate coming up out of Patrick Corbin too. So we'll see how that turns out. But again, gosh, never seen pitching like this.
No, never have. And in fact, so of course you'd go, the cynic among us would go, well, yeah, I mean, so starting rotation's been great, but they've lost 31 games. So obviously, friggin' bullpen, I mean, they've blown it open. No. If you look at the overall, not just the rotation, the pitching staff, excuse me, ERA, 3.10. Best in the American League. 3.10. It's best in the American League. It's third best in all of baseball. Only the Mets and the Giants have better team ERAs. So, it all points back to the same thing. And God knows we've talked about it a million times. And we'll probably get into it a little bit more here later in the show. But it points back to the problem, which is the offense. But the bullpen, which was cobbled together and questioned in so many ways, Jeff, and now has gone through its share of maybe fatigue and for sure injury, still doing fine.
Yeah, I was on a radio show with ESPN in Waco, my friend Ward White's, and he asked about the bullpen, and they're kind of hanging on right now. Just kind of
agreed.
Just kind of trying to survive, and Chris Martin coming back is going to be a big deal. And then you kind of look ahead, and Josh Spore's coming back should help. John Gray potentially coming back as a reliever would be massive for this team. And then the trade deadline comes along, and I don't know. There's going to be thousands of relievers available. Some of them aren't going to be the big names, the closers or whatever for these teams that have fallen out of contention. There's going to be some big names, setup guys who are just going to come in there and be good. Kind of like a Sam Dyson, you'd never really heard of Sam Dyson and Jake Diekman for that matter in that vein. Kind of throw-ins, if you will, or the Dyson trade was one for a couple prospects. But the point being, there are guys out there who scouts see and who are just really, really good. And you could see the Rangers adding there potentially. But right now, Robert Garcia's been doing fine.
He really has.
Closer. Luke Jackson had the hiccup, but he's been okay the last couple times out.
Yep.
Hobie Milner continues to amaze. And, Armstrong has gotten better. I know he had that rough one on the last homestand, but Sean Armstrong has been pretty steady.
Yeah, for most of the year, he's been pretty steady. Yeah. The one up and down guy has been Webb, I think.
Right, right. And, so we'll see what happens there. The Rangers aren't in any position to be shedding guys.
No.
And then somebody asked in the chat about Cody Hewer, who has
Hoyer.
Is it Hoyer?
Yeah, PR sent out a thing. It's Hoyer.
All right, well, and Mike Maddox was pronouncing it incorrect.
Oh wow, okay, no, PR says it's Hoyer.
Okay, well, whatever his name is, and it is Cody with an I.
Yeah.
He was once a. You can do a search. He was going to be the Cubs closer of the future, and then his arm got wrecked. And it's been a long road back. The Rangers signed him in 23, knowing he was hurt, would need time to recover. He pitched last year in AAA, had an awful spring. He was just not competitive in spring training this year, but he's been really, really good at Round Rock. Following in the steps of Cole Winn, Luis Curvelo has been really, really good too. He might be the next guy who gets the call from the minor leagues to get a shot at the bullpen. Hoyer.
Yeah, I know. I've been struggling with it too.
The arm angle's a little different. He's got really long arms, so he's going to have good reach, and that'll help make his fastball play a little bit better. We'll see. I don't know that he's going to be thrust into the 8th inning with a lead, but the Rangers need an arm, and he was the next man up.
Going to be fun to see how this pitching staff continues to perform because, again, and we think Chris Martin's back soon, yes?
Yeah, well, he threw the live batting practice Sunday, so, and all the conversations I've had with him, he's like, yeah, I'm
chomping
fine.
at the bit.
I'm ready to go.
Chomping at the bit.
I don't want to go on a rehab assignment. I just need the minimum days. I think he would like his arm to make that popping noise while warming up. Maybe it happened the other day during live BP. They don't let us watch,
so he
live
can just
BPs.
get used to it. Yeah.
So, but he's going to get big outs. I think Garcia will remain the closer. I think Martin then, he's so good in that role.
That eighth inning
but
role.
it's just going to be the eighth. You're not going to see him come in the seventh to get the last out and then rest and then come back out. The Rangers are going to try to be acutely aware of this guy who, in a matter of days, turns 39.
Jeez.
So, and when he's on, he's still very, very good. I wish he struck out guys a little bit more frequently, but he's always around the plate, generates a lot of weak contact, and he's a veteran, so that's gonna help.
Knows how to pitch,
no doubt about it.
Yeah, he also. It's interesting when we talked to him the other day. I brought up, hey, 3 days in a row, and he's like, well, I want 3 days in a row, but they probably realize that may not be the best recipe for a guy who's about to be 39 years old. So they are, they're massaging it. It'll be interesting to see, too, because Nathan Eovaldi is now on the injured list. But again, it's so nice because there is sort of built-in depth with these guys coming back off the injured list in this case. And someone in the chat was saying they were, too, excited about seeing Kumar Rocker.
Yeah. We got to keep in mind, I know Kumar Rocker has been a name probably since 2018, when he was his last year of high school, I think was 18. And he was so good for Vanderbilt. 19, 20 was the issue, the COVID stuff. So nobody really pitched. Then 21, that's kind of where the drama begins with the supposed shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
The Mets didn't sign him. He had a cleanup or a procedure of some sort, and then had to fight back, independent ball, all that stuff. And then the Rangers signed him, surprisingly, third overall. Then he blew out his elbow. So, this is a guy who hasn't had a complete body of work for a long time. And his first offseason healthy as a major leaguer, he went about it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't come flat out and say that, but he said, look, it was my first offseason. And so he realizes that he made a mistake. It takes a lot longer, he said. He now realizes to get everything lined up. So a learning lesson, a tough learning lesson, but I think the time off served him well. He really never had to be shut down for a long time from throwing. So that's good. And he had a chance to work on stuff. And if everything is dialed in and synced in like it was last year when he was tearing up the minor leagues and earned the promotion, you're going to see a better Kumar Rocker. The issue now is, though, that for these next 10 days until Eovaldi is back, the Rangers don't really have any rotation depth.
No, that's it.
And they didn't really have any before Rocker came back.
Yeah.
So Dane Dunning pitched well his last time at AAA. He's probably the leading guy if something were to happen, which, of course, it's a matter of if, not when, with starting pitchers. And that's not a shot at Jacob deGrom or anybody who might have dealt with a lot of injuries. It's just baseball. These guys get hurt, and in a variety of ways. The Yankees closer got hurt warming up the other day, so he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks, the hamstring injury. But the rotation, phenomenal. If this offense had produced at all, the Rangers would be running away with the West. But that's where we are.
That is why we get to the road to recovery next. The Rangers hope that the offense is on said road to recovery. We talk about that and the rest of this series and a little bit more about the road trip as we continue. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Empire Today, the OG of DLLS sponsors, is back. Still with us, however you want to say it. EmpireDay.com/DLLS. You get $350 off your new floors. You don't even need to leave your house. That's part of the home field advantage that Empire wants to give you. You call up, you schedule a free in-home visit. They come loaded with information and an expert who can pick out furniture, help you match it, or pick out flooring, help you match it with your furniture or paint job or whatever it is you got going on. And they can start the next day, which is crazy. So if you're in a pinch, you got to sell your house and you're your realtor saying, you might want to clean up those floors. Call Empire today. If you have been living in the same place for a while and you've seen your kids and dogs tear up your floor to hell, that makes it look like a road, go ahead and call Empire today. Get the ball in motion. EmpireDay.com/DLLS for $350 off your new floors.
Got myself all ready for work today, and I was good to go. And I just had to do a couple of little things. Check the thermostat, put some chemicals in the pool. Very small little chores. Not a big,
Yeah.
I'm done with those. I'm sweating. I'm just because you know why? It's so humid out there right now. We've got storms coming in tonight. Humidity's up. I'm like, I can't go to work like this. But don't forget, I got the Mando wipes. So I wiped everything down.
Attaboy.
I mean everything.
I smell delightful.
Don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wiped everything down just to be sure that there was no negative aroma emanating from this body, and there isn't, in fact, only, as Jeff just indicated, a positive aroma. Mando's fantastic, no matter the time of the year, but especially this time of year when these humid days cause us to sweat a bit more than normal. So go to Mando.com, use the code DLLS, get $5 off your starter pack at Mando. Okay, so can we get this offense right? They appeared to have made steps, right? Strides, maybe even. Maybe the weekend was more than baby steps in that the Friday game showed a little bit of everything, Jeff, offensively, and the Sunday game showed those things that you mentioned briefly earlier, but those things like sack flies. It's only the third time, I think, this year that they scored 3 runs in a game on outs. They had 2 sack flies, and they had the one, it was technically the Haggerty sacrifice bunt, suicide squeeze, whatever you want to call it. He was out, but the runner was safe at home. So to have scored 3 runs on outs doesn't seem like a huge deal because, again, for years it seemed to me like every winning run in a game was a sack fly. It's a pretty, especially when you're doing highlights on TV like I was for all those years. I'm like, oh, wow, how'd the Rangers win? Whatever. Sack fly. Oh, for God's sake. That's not very exciting,
Yeah.
But anyway, they got 3 sacrifices, one being a bunt, 2 being traditional sack flies the other night.
Look, Michael Young won the 2008 All-Star game for the American League with a sacrifice fly in extra innings. I mean, it used to be commonplace. It used to be like I always thought when David Murphy came up with a runner at third and less than 2 outs that he was
coming home.
I just knew that the guy was going to score on a sacrifice fly. And then you kind of transitioned to Joey Gallo, who went 4 seasons without a sacrifice fly. Just crazy things like that. And I talked to Brett Boone after the game Sunday because I was thinking, very good timing, by the way, to catch him in the hallway. But he was talking about sacrifice flies are such a big deal, and that they do so much for a team. And he said, I love that execution. That's what builds. And you can manufacture runs like that. That's how you get through the lean times because you're not going to hit all the time. When you're going through those lean ones, if you execute, that's how you win games. You watch, and then he was like, you watch St. Louis in game 2. That first, it was either the first or the second run they scored. It was a heads-up base running move.
Yeah.
Ball in the dirt. Wilson Contreras went to second. They moved him over. He scored.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, when you're not going to score a lot of runs, you got to do those things. So, I think that is ideal what the Rangers did Sunday. Putting the ball play, the long ball was there. I mean, it finished off the scoring. It was in the 8th inning when the game was pretty much decided, but still nice to see. And you can tell that the Rangers. I really thought after the game we were talking about the little things and bunch of little things equal some big things.
Yeah, they do.
And they're just part of the game.
Again, and you can so many of those one-run games that the Rangers were on the wrong end of. How many times were we talking about bases loaded with nobody out and they couldn't get anybody home? Bases loaded with nobody out. There's at least 3 instances of that I can think of off the top of my head that happened to the Rangers this season. That's unconscionable.
Yeah. and really, there was a point last season when like they were just embarrassingly dreadful with like the bases loaded.
Yeah.
And those are the situations where you got to put the bat on the ball, as they're saying in the chat. Just make contact. Even and this isn't bases loaded, no outs, and you hit a ball to the shortstop. Well, if they're going to try to turn two, and that sucks because you're getting 2 outs, but you're scoring a run.
Yeah.
And just put the ball. It's better than not scoring at all. And you saw it the other night, the other afternoon. The first 2 guys get on to start the game for the Rangers, and it was strikeout, pop out. It's like, come on, you gotta execute in those situations. And yes, it was Corey Seager who was the third batter, and you're not going to ask Corey Seager to, move him over.
Do much, no.
And a lot of it does depend on where you are at the lineup and what those guys are paid and asked to do. But the point being, there are ways to get runs without getting a base hit or getting a double or hitting a home run.
Yeah. And, Marcus Semien said after the game, on Sunday, I don't really like to give at bats away,
Give away outs. Yeah.
Give away outs. And that is the way I think even his generation of player, which is significantly earlier generation than the youngest guys today. But I think from his on, that's sort of the way they've been trained, which is contrary to what Brett Boone has done and is advocating, and what Bruce Bochy saw teams do for years and years and years. And so, maybe this shift in mindset. I suppose there's probably a stigma in their minds a little bit, Jeff, where, well, we don't need to hit a sac fly because we got power. We don't need to do that. We're good hitters, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Sometimes they're really good pitchers, too. Get the ball in the damn air and get it out there and drive the run in.
Yeah, and the ballpark factors are down this year at Globe Life Field. I mean, it's harder. It's been harder to hit home runs. But I wonder if that's because the Rangers have been so bad on offense and their pitching's been so good. I wonder if that has had anything to do with it. Marcus said he doesn't like to give outs away, sacrificing. But if it means adding a run to make it a little bit easier for the closer, or if it means building a cushion and then giving a team the ability to put the game away late, do it. Be a well-rounded offense. And Marcus at this point can't really pick and choose. He can't be greedy.
Nope.
And if he needs to hit a grounder up the middle to get a run home, then Marcus, let's go ahead and do that. But again, he had a great weekend. You hope that's the turnaround that he's been trying to get. And but he's if he's on the right track, that's good. And then I've seen Mista asking about is Adolis going to be back this week? In theory, yes. I mean, he's not on the injured list, or he hasn't used his last option to the minors, which is possible.
Sure.
I mean, he could be sent to the minor leagues. He doesn't quite have the service time to refuse an option. So anyway, the Rangers want him to work on some swing changes. Very clearly, they want him to work on some approach changes. And you gotta test the waters with them. I think when there's a situation where there's a left-handed batter or left-handed pitcher, I'm sorry, you'll see Garcia, and you might see him against a right-hander. Just get him back out there to feel good about himself, but also just see where he's at, see how these swing changes feel, because you can't replicate them for sure until you see it against live pitching in a game. You can hit off the machine or hit off a tee or a coach's arm all you want, but until you're out there looking at nasty stuff and in a game that matters and how you're going to react, and if you can execute the swing changes, he needs to see it. And maybe it's just like one game and he goes 0 for 4 and it's like, well, that didn't work, or back to the drawing board. We'll see, but I don't think he's going to be an everyday player until those swing changes are take hold.
Yeah, and with the return of Evan Carter, they will have the flexibility to allow for, if you call it a platoon situation, I suppose that's what Adolis could be, part of a platoon in right field. In any event, I agree with you, Jeff. I just think until He looks like Adolis Garcia of 2023. The leash is fairly short, and it should be because those non-competitive at bats, for lack of a better word, those where he chases so badly. He was chasing, not quite, but almost half of his pitches. He was chasing 40 plus, 41, 42%. When you're chasing that many, those at bats become somewhat non-competitive, and they become demoralizing for a team.
Yeah, and my point, I think I mentioned this recently. He should know by now how they're trying to get him out.
Yes,
it's been the same recipe since 2021, and he just can't help himself. He's hitting 155 in his last 20 games. He did, have the big hit against the White Sox to avoid the embarrassment of being swept by them, but it just hasn't been good, and it needs to be better. Mista is asking who then would be in right field if it's not Garcia. Well, Evan Carter is going to be back.
Yep.
In center field. That pushes old Wyatt Langford over to left. And then I think you have your choice between Haggerty and Osuna.
Yeah.
And against a lefty, it'll be different because if you, in theory, have Adolis back in right field and have Carter and Osuna on the bench, and that gives Haggerty the chance to either play center or left. They have options, and right now their outfield options appear to be, well, they don't appear to be. They're better than Adolis Garcia, at least offensively. I don't want to take away from Adolis' defense because he's been very, very good defensively. But I think that there are opportunities for the Rangers to attempt to rectify their offense without Adolis in it.
Yeah, and to answer that, Mr. Sam, starting in right field the majority of the week, then we're only assuming that Adolis will be back sooner rather than later. We still haven't been given a plan for how they will enter him back into even activity, right? They want to make sure, ideally, that he's right. Now, again, you can't go too long down a man.
Right.
So it's probably going to happen soon. I would think probably in this Tampa series, but they're leaving the options, I think, open that it might take a little longer.
Well, and you saw the DFA of Tucker Barnhart.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be playing theoretically a man down with Adolis working on things, you got to have more flexibility than a catcher and two other guys on the bench.
That's right.
So there is that, and so I don't. But yeah, Bruce Bochy was going to talk to Adolis after the game or before the game Sunday after he talked to us. Nothing came out of the meeting to the media. So I don't know where things stand, but I do think that, Bruce has a way. I mean, he's a guy who had to manage Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
And had a way of getting Barry Bonds to pinch hit on days he wanted off and things like that. I'm sure Boch had a way of talking to Adolis and letting him know, hey, this is what we think. This is what we want you to do. We know you can do this. You've carried our team in the past. We got to get you back to that guy.
Yep. So that's the goal. That's what they're trying to do, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that is what they do. In the meantime, they'll figure it out with or without Adolis. Coming up, it's our cleanup segment. A lot of fun to talk about, including, believe it or not, maybe the first time on the program, some softball. That's next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. But we got merch, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, we're merched up. We're not at the ballpark today, so John is modeling the DLLS shirt that I almost wore today, but I was like, I know he doesn't have this red shirt.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with the red.
I didn't think you had this one.
I've got it.
Oh, damn.
So I could wear that tomorrow. So anyway, look, go to store.allcitynetwork.com. Check out all of our shirts, not just the Ranger shirts. If you get some ice cream on your shirt like John's about to, you need another one. You need another one right there. So again, I have 15 shirts, 2 sweatshirts. We will be adding another Ranger shirt once it's made available. Yep. And again, when the hats come out, I'm going to go crazy. So it's quality stuff. We wouldn't we wouldn't be wearing these if they were itchy and scratchy.
Mm-mm.
You know, I've done just about every activity in these shirts that you can imagine. So again, go to store.allcitynetwork.com.
Get a shirt.
Merch. Yeah.
Or go ahead and go to All City Network /join and or all DLLS. Is it all DLLS /join?
DLLS.com/join.
Yeah.
Or
use the QR code.
Yeah.
Get yourself a free shirt by becoming a diehard. I really think that you will appreciate this diehard membership because we're just we have better writers with veteran experience than anybody else that's out there with a sort of a cadre of writers, and there's not that many anyway. Obviously, the Athletics out there, but they don't even cover the Rangers, for example, right? They've got writers on other beats, and you've got the Dallas newspaper, and they do a fine job, but they're a heck of a lot more expensive than $79.99, and they don't give you a free shirt. So I encourage you to become a diehard today. You won't regret it. All right, so let's get to this. This cleanup segment. First of all, did you see the Tigers circus catch last night?
I did not see it.
Okay, you got to look this one up because the Rangers had one earlier this season, one of those, and it was against them, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody in right field pops out of his glove, and there's a center fielder right there to catch it. What game was that? Do you remember that one?
I don't remember that.
Anyway, in the Tiger game yesterday, the catcher, who is Dylan Dingler, was charging over for a foul pop-up right in front of the third base dugout, and he gets his glove out there in time, and the ball just hits it and bounces off. And Zach McKinstry, the third baseman, is coming over to help with this if he can.
Yeah.
And I'll be danged if the ball pops off the glove of Dingler, hits McKinstry in the lower leg, and he puts his glove down and catches it. And it's like, hey, look what I found. I promise you, he wasn't looking at the ball. He had no idea it was there, but he had a good reaction. Got his glove down, caught the ball.
Yeah, there's two plays I can think of like that. There was the Pete Rose Bob Boone play. It might have been against, I don't recall. It might have been during their 80 playoff run. And then Tom Brookins, Tigers. Tom Brookins, Mike Heath had a similar play that is part of the blooper reel in Naked Gun.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, including they have some real ones, and then they have the guy's head popping off when he tries to catch the ball, and the Tiger attacking the base runner at second, car hitting the
Those are a little more extreme. A little more extreme. Naked Gun. That's a funny movie. So that was really cool. I loved seeing that. How about the L.A. Angels of Anaheim last night in Fenway Park, Jeff? Fenway Park's been there since 1912, and no visiting team has ever done what the Angels did in the top of the first inning.
Very, very surprising.
I was shocked by, especially at that ballpark.
Yeah.
No visiting team has ever hit 3 home runs in the first inning, and the Deadgum Angels did that last night, including a 454-foot bomb by Mike Trout.
Yeah, Mike Trout has been sizzling hot since he came off the IL, and he said last night to reporters that he used his time recovering from his knee injury to reset his swing. Well, guess what? Bruce Bochy the other day said, while Jock's on the IL, it's going to give him a chance to reset his swing. Kumar Rocker used the IL time to reset his body and get everything in tune. You hope that all players take advantage of the time. You don't just have to recover from being injured. You get to work on things.
Sure, yeah.
And if Mike Trout's going for the Angels, that's great. He is a shoo-in Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, no question.
He's a shoo-in first ballot Hall of Famer. But we were talking Mike Trout, let's say after 2014, or even a little later, 2019, being one of the best players ever. A top 10. He's really, really good. And if he's back, it's great for baseball. I don't care if he's in the Rangers division or not. A great Mike Trout is a great thing.
Yeah, there is no doubt about that. And Wash said it way back at the winter meetings that, if Mike Trout is healthy, which at the time Wash thought he was, he may not have been fully, but now he appears to be. He said he's still one of the top, 25 players in the game or something along those lines.
100%.
And he definitely is, maybe even higher than that on the list. Mike Trout. And you know what? We're always happy for Wash when his team's not beating the Rangers, and they're putting them again. Nobody in the American League West is putting any distance between anybody, really. But I think they've got 3 games on the Athletics now. I mean, we thought the Angels, especially with what the Athletics did in the offseason, which was more than they've done in a long, long time, thought, it's probably going to be the Angels down at the bottom. Well, it looks like Wash and those Angels might have something to say about not being at the bottom.
Yeah, they made some additions that would make them, or that's feasible, whereas the A's are kind of relying on young talent that goes through ups and downs. But the Rangers are a couple games ahead of the Angels. We'll see how long it lasts. When the Angels came to town, they were I think they were above 500 at the time, and Wash was saying that everybody's very, very excited about the start, and Wash was like, if this was August, I'd be excited.
Yeah.
But it's April. It's early, man. So
yeah. And then didn't the Rangers take 3 out of 4, I think?
I think they swept them.
Maybe a sweep. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So there you go. That was that. And, but interesting, though, that since 1912, no visiting team has hit 3 bombs in the first inning. Got a Jose Urena update. Urena. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's with the Dodgers now.
The Dodgers have a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
Holy moly. And you know what? If you've paid attention to the Dodgers in the past while they're signing all these guys in the offseason and all that stuff, if you knew, one of their pitfalls the past few seasons has been pitching injuries, and they're going through it again. Urena was so valuable to the Rangers.
He was.
I was really disappointed they didn't re-sign him, give him an opportunity to do something with this club. They could use him right now, I really think. But he's been bouncing around. He started with the Mets, then went to the Blue Jays, and now he's with the Dodgers. So he's made a Big Apple to Canada to Hollywood.
Yeah,
it's quite a journey. I like him. I do. And he was a good guy. He worked so hard between starts. Nobody works harder, or outings, whatever. He is a workout machine. He's built like it. And I really liked him.
Yeah. We'll hope good things for him with that Dodgers organization. Pretty tough, though. It felt like he resurrected his career with that great season with the Rangers last year, and now he's been with 3 different organizations. I think the Blue Jays just let him go.
Yeah.
They did. Interesting how it goes for certain guys, and especially, I guess, when you get a little bit later on in your career. The Mariners are going to retire number 51. Jeff.
Yeah, I'm shocked that it hasn't been done already.
That's the thing. So why wouldn't Randy Johnson's number have been retired? Well, before such time as when you would consider retiring a guy's player number, because he was still playing at the time for another club, Ichiro came in and said, "Can I wear 51?"
Yeah.
And Randy Johnson gave his blessing. He gave his blessing. So that happened. But so who's it retired for? I mean, because again, you'd say, well, because Johnson gave his blessing, they can make the case, which they are, that they're retiring it for Randy Johnson. But it's being retired for both guys.
Well, they can slap both names underneath it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as Michael Young astutely pointed out when they retired his 10. Jim Sundberg was a really good number 10.
That's right. He did.
For the Rangers.
Yeah.
He's in their Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a hell of a catcher at a time where guys caught 160 games a year. And for him to do that in the Arlington Heat,
right,
at that old ballpark, and he was a Gold Glove winner. I mean, he was stinking great.
Won a World Series too now with the Rangers, obviously.
Yeah, with the Royals.
With the Royals. Yeah. So good for him.
And I remember talking to him in the 2011 World Series. The way that the Royals won Game 6, a walk off. They had the blown call involved. Okay, they took advantage of it. Ended up winning that game, and then the Cardinals came out the next night and just laid a stinking egg. And Sonny said, in 2085, we knew we had it won. And
after Game 6,
and his concern about Game 7 for the Rangers was, can our boys recover?
Yeah.
And it started out well.
It did.
And then kind of.
Yeah, it seemed like they had recovered well. I remember Mark McLemore telling me after Game 6, there's no way they're winning tomorrow. And I'm like, they might. And then they came out, and I'm like, there you go, Mac, there you go. And then, he had the last laugh and say on that. So anyway, that's that story. Now, how about this? There's this AUSL, which is Athletes United Sports League, which is a softball league that Major League Baseball has bought into. They bought 20% of the league.
Yeah.
And we're actually excited about this. We're going to try to get a couple of guests on from softball. But I got to be honest with you. And that happened last week. And there's a lot of people in Major League Baseball who are extremely excited about this and should be. And I love the fact that maybe this will give gals a chance to make some real money playing softball. But to be honest, even at the college level, I have not watched a lot of softball over the years, Jeff, and certainly not recently, to the point that there was not much on last night. So I flipping around, and I found the Texas Tech OU game. Now, OU has a home field advantage every year at the Women's College World Series because the Omaha of the Women's College World Series is Oklahoma City, just 20 miles up the road from Norman. So it's a real home field advantage. The other teams talk about it often. OU had won 4 straight national championships, women's softball. But here's the thing. I didn't know till last night when I was watching that game, the pitchers wear masks.
Oh, yeah.
Have they done that for a long time?
They have. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if it's required now.
Well, they want to keep
helmets in hockey.
Yeah,
but you don't see a pitcher without a mask.
Well, and that's not much distance between. I mean, that's not 60 feet 6 inches, which even that isn't far enough, as we know sometimes.
Yeah.
But and they'll hit that ball hard. Anyway, what a game this was. So OU again down to their last at bat. They got a runner on in the 9th inning. They're down 2. Their 9th place hitter is at the plate. And I wish I remembered her name, but I don't. But she gets up, the 9th place hitter. She gets up there, and with 2 strikes, doesn't she jack a 2-run bomb out into right field and send the place into hysteria? The Sooners have tied the game. And yes, I mean, as you're watching that game, you're thinking, there is no way Texas Tech is going to win this game now. This is OU just showing unbelievable dominance. And I'll be darned if, Tech, because again, it feels like a home game for OU, but Tech was the home team in this game. They come up in the bottom half, get a runner on. She gets over to third, and a sac fly brings her home. And the slide that this young lady made was unbelievable. And she's quick. And she got in there because it was a fairly shallow fly ball to right field. And she scored. And it was really cool. I mean, it was like up off the couch, exciting kind of stuff. Yeah. Not that I'm a fan of either, really. I'm not a huge Tech fan, although my son-in-law went there. But I thought it was pretty cool, pretty dramatic, exciting finish.
The most excited person in Texas about professional softball is my daughter. She's 10, all right? She doesn't quite understand things, but she knows that she wants to play professional softball for her job. And so I sent the press release to her, or to my wife, who then showed it to her last week. And Molly is now convinced that she's going to have a tough decision, either OU or going pro.
Okay.
Right out of high school.
Good.
So she is fired up.
I hope so. I hope that happens exactly as she sees it. And, so it's Texas Tech and Texas, Jeff, in Oklahoma City for the national championship in women's softball. And again, never to take anything away from the great program at Texas, but the Texas Tech team did beat them earlier this season when they played. So let's just see what happens in the World Series here.
Yeah, I think it's best of 3. So there'll be some good softball being played.
Yeah, I think there will be. So anyway, that's exciting. And we will, as we say, we're going to try to get you more information and maybe even a guest or two on with regard to this AUSL. There's one thing we know if that happens. Molly will be by the channel.
She will be. Yeah. And I say we get Kat Osterman.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Kat's great.
Texas.
Yep, Texas gal, great talker, and she really was, in many ways, she was one of the pioneers of the women's game making any of the big strides that it has. So
Yeah.
good. We'll work on Kat Osterman. We appreciate you hanging out with us today. We have just about finished our Frosties, and needless to say, have finished our beer. They go well together. They go very well together. So what a day it's been. Thanks for joining us. See you again tomorrow at 1 o'clock for another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.